Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Meet the Author. Today I have Teagan Hunter with me. Thank you so much, Teagan, for jumping on with us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So excited that you jumped on. I don't know if you know this. You probably don't know this about me, but I'm a big hockey romance girly. So I was just so excited when I was like, oh my gosh, I get to talk to her. I can maybe tell in the background. I have all the Carolina Comets back there. And then I have Body Check. I don't have Face Off yet. I need to get that one. I have it on my Kindle. I just have to get my physical copy to go with everything. But so excited to talk with you. So, first off, thank you for coming on here. And just kind of if people maybe have never been introduced to hockey romance or maybe have not been introduced to you in hockey romance, kind of give us a little bit of a rundown of just who you are and what kind of got you into writing in general.
So I started writing in 2014 and I first published in 2015. Um, I started out writing a little heavier contemporary romance books, like more emotional, and it got exhausting really quickly. So I moved more into the rom-com genre and I just really fell in love with it. Um, I am originally from the St. Louis, Missouri area and moved around a little bit for the Marine Corps when my husband was active duty. We currently live in Washington near Seattle, and I love hockey. I've been a big fan of hockey for a while now, and I finally took the plunge and decided to jump into sports romance and totally just fell in love with it. I was always a big reader of sports romances, but I was always scared to mesh my love of hockey with romance just because I didn't want to lose my passion for either one, if that makes any sense at all. um, but now that I've done it, I'm really glad I did it. I feel like it's actually made me love hockey even more than I did before, if that's possible.
Love that. Love
Yeah.
that so much. And I think you, like I said, I was introduced to you through the Carolina Comet Series, which is obviously hockey romance. And then now, your newest series is out. We'll talk more about, the newest book here in just a second. But, also for people, just again, getting to know you. So you said you're originally from St. Louis, you have to move around a lot. Do you think living in so many different places has kind of helped give you like, I feel like there's just with an author, a lot of times it's like, you get to pull from so many different things. Do you feel like that getting to move around a lot kind of helped you with your books, like being able to pull all these different things and like all the different, I'm assuming all this, you've lived in so many different cities. They're all very different from the one before, I'm sure. That's given you all of that kind of to work with and maybe inspiration per se for your books.
Yeah, I think especially with him being in the military was really great because we got to meet people from all over the world, and that was really awesome. Different backgrounds, like all kinds of things like that. That part was really fun to just meet so many different people and learn about where they're from and their families, and just kind of take that and tie that into my books in the littlest ways. Not like I totally stole anybody's story, except for one guy. But I got his permission to use his story, so that's okay. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely helped kind of teach me more about people. Sounds weird, but
No, I feel like that totally makes sense. And again, like being in so many, I mean, even just living like here in so many different parts of the country, people are so vastly different in like
oh
their
yeah.
everyday life and like their personalities and stuff like that. And so it can kind of help shape different characters and just, how your story is going, which I think is really awesome. Walk us through what your normal day in the life is as an author and kind of just what that process looks like for you.
So if I'm actively writing, which I am a lot of the time, I get up pretty early, and I'm not one of those authors though that wake up and immediately start writing. I can't do that. I don't know why. I wish that I could. That would be amazing. But I can't do that. So I usually sit down and do some admin work until about noon or 1, and then my brain's kind of like more awake and it's more kind of in the book world headspace. And then I sit down and I start writing, and I usually write until pretty late at night. And then I relax and try to unwind some. Um, That's when I'm writing, and when I'm not writing, I'm usually just doing admin work, which, there's so much behind the scenes that happens with that. Trying to coordinate emails and, cover reveals and everything else that I need to do, and shipping and all of that fun stuff, so it's pretty nonstop, but I really enjoy it.
I feel like people don't realize a lot of the times, you know, it's like as an author, obviously you were having to write whole books, which is
Mhm.
not simple by any means. And, you know, then you have to be like, okay, well, how am I gonna, you know, especially more recently, I feel like tropes, like picking out the tropes is very
Yeah.
much like in a marketing side. So it's like, okay, well, which tropes am I gonna pick? And then how am I gonna do this with the cover? And then, you know, if we're gonna have this kind of release, what are we gonna do? And there's just like so many little things that you have to think about to like put it all together that people are just like, oh yeah, like authors, they're just writing books. And you're like, no,
Yes.
it's a lot work. It's a lot more than you think.
It is a lot of work, and I up until pretty recently, I used to make all of my own book covers and all of my own graphics, and so, like, I had to add that on top of everything else, and it was constant, just nonstop. I'm just like, "I need to cut something loose and take a break." So now I outsource all that, which has been really nice.
So what is that process kind of like? Because I think, you know, a huge thing for readers too is, you know, the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. But we're all so bad about that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if we have a really pretty cover, we're much more inclined to pick up that book. So
Mhm.
what was that process kind of like when you were doing the designing? And then now how has it kind of shifted for you? And, you know, obviously, how do you write the whole book before you send it to someone to, you know, make the cover? Do you just send them a few you know, how does that kind of process work for you now?
So now it's I have the book cover done before I write the book pretty much. You sometimes like as I'm writing the book cover will be like getting worked on and everything, but I'm trying to get it done a lot earlier. I generally have a pretty good idea just with my background of being in design because before I was an author, I was a full-time book cover designer. I worked for,
Awesome.
a company who specializes in, like, historical romance book covers, and I probably made over 1,000 book covers working with them for
That's so
yeah.
cool.
It was really cool, it was really fun. It's kind of how I got into the industry a little bit, but so I really use that of I kind of know what I want going in, and I just send it off, and I'm like, "Hey, this is kind of my idea," and sometimes I let them just roll with it. I'm like, "General, this is sort of what I want, maybe, like, this type of font," or if I have an image picked out, I'll send that over too, and luckily, I've been, really blessed with some of the people that I've worked with, and they're like, "Oh, I got you." Like, Emily Wittig has been amazing. She's the one who's designed all of my discrete special edition covers. She's been fantastic, and then Shanoff Designs has taken the Seattle Serpent Series, the guy covers, and she's really just made them absolutely gorgeous, and I love them.
Stunning. We love a good, you know, delicious meal when you're reading about them, but then when you can like visualize it,
Oh, yes.
always, always great too.
Yes.
I think that's, you know, for me, I usually lean towards the discrete covers for like my shelves.
Yeah.
But that's the best thing about Kindles. It's like, no, you get the man on it. So I can like be all happy and I get to like see my man. And I'm like, this is awesome. But
Yes.
then like if you come over, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just it's just that book. And it's like meanwhile I have like a you know, sometimes a shirtless man and I'm like reading it on my Kindle.
Yeah, I love that. I really enjoy the trend of having options for different book covers for it because I'm a big collector of books myself. I mean, obviously. Um, so I like having different editions sometimes, just the different covers that come out. Like if a book gets made into a movie, I like to buy the movie poster edition cover, and I don't know, I really like having the different options.
No, I like having a bunch of them too. But I was going to ask you that as an author, you know, especially before when you were having to design your own books, has it, you know, was the shift a little bit later on when it started being okay, like you have a people cover and a discrete cover once you weren't designing them? Or was that still a little bit more stress added to your plate that you're like, okay, not only do I need to have one really awesome cover, now I need two?
It I don't know, it's so weird, like, I feel like sometimes it comes really easily, like, for the Carolina Comet series, it came so easily. We just Emily knocked those out of the park. She did so fantastic with those, and we knew right away what we wanted. But with the Seattle Serpent series, that one was a little harder. I really wanted something different, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted, and we had to go through a few rounds for that. But it's not really. I don't, it's kind of fun, like to at least for me, it's fun to make all like the different covers and stuff, just because
Mhm.
it does allow me to still use my designer brain and like exercise that part of my brain. And so I still get to be creative, but in a different way. So for me, the multiple covers thing is really, really fun and it's not stressful. I'm sure it is for other authors, but I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. I think that's the coolest thing since I've started doing even these interviews is just how different things are for each person.
Mm.
Like some people love signing their own cover. Some people are like, it's literally the bane of my existence. Like I just want to write my books.
Yeah.
I want these covers to be made and be beautiful. When it comes to your writing process, I love to ask this question too. Do you consider yourself more of a pantser or a plotter? Once I learned that phrase, like the two, I love to ask it, A, because it's fun to say, but it's also just again so fun to hear how different everyone's answers always usually are.
Yeah, I am probably a mix of the two. I think I mostly pants a book, but I will have certain like scenes and plot points that I really want to like hit and that I know for sure are going to be in the book. But a lot of times I just let the characters like guide me to like where the scene needs to be or how it's going to go or whatever. So I feel like I'm a pretty good mix of the two.
That's awesome. And kind of talking more about less of the technical covers writing stuff. You mentioned earlier that you live in Seattle
Mhm.
now. You have your newest series. Was that, you were already living there when you decided to go ahead and write these books, or was it something that you were like thinking about and you just were like, you know what, I'm gonna base this right where I'm at? Kind of walk us through, that process and then talk a little bit about that series. People maybe haven't picked it up yet or have kind of heard about it but didn't know if it was for them, kind of what we can expect both with the book one and book two that just came out, I believe last week it just came out.
Yes. So I was planning the Seattle Serpent series like years ago. I knew that I wanted to write a hockey series set in North Carolina, and that was the Carolina Comets.
Mm-hmm.
And I was only a couple of books into it when I knew for sure that I was going to do a spinoff series, and I knew for sure it was going to be set in Seattle. Um, I've always really liked Seattle. I don't know why. I know that's kind of random, but I read a book when I was younger that was set in Seattle, and I was like, this place sounds so cool. I want to go there one day. And I just really wanted to write a book at the time somewhere that like I had never been.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of happened that we ended up moving out here because that was a spur of the moment cross country trip and we sold our house on the road kind of thing. It was very not planned at all. Now we love it. So, it was a good decision. But yeah, I just picked Seattle because it sounded fun. And it turned out we really enjoyed it. And now I'm really glad that it's set in Seattle just because I can incorporate so many great things that I see around us and everything into the book. That's been really, really nice and really cool just for the research aspect of it. Every time we go out, it feels like it's like for fun, but also for research. So it's just kind of this like really cool mix of the two. But the sales,
I love that you were, like, plotting being there before you were even living there, like, that's so cool to me that you had already had it set up in your head that you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna write a series here," and then
yeah.
you guys just decided to live there, like, that's I figured you were gonna be like, "No, I like, living close to here, obviously, it made it way easier to just go ahead and set something here," but that's even cooler to me that you're like, "No, I wanted to do it there regardless if I lived there or not."
Yeah, I don't know why I ever since I was younger and I read that book, I was like, Seattle sounds so cool. I really want to go there. And I've always been into like 90s grunge music and stuff. And this is, where it was born and everything. Um, so I don't know. I was just always really drawn to it. And when my husband and I were talking about like potentially moving from where we used to live, we were like, oh, let's go check out Washington because neither of us had ever been. And we got like a camper van. We literally just got in the van and spent 3 weeks on the road driving out here. We never been, and we were like, let's put our house on the market. Let's just do this. Let's like either be like van lifers or like find somewhere to live. Let's do something. So we did. And then we spent a week out here in Washington and sold our house, drove back, packed up our house, and then 2 weeks later drove back out to Washington. And now we live here.
That's incredible, honestly.
Yeah, it's
I could never be that type of person. I would love to be that type, but I'm too much of like planning things down to the second. I wish sometimes that I could just like let it go and just kind of see how things go.
yeah.
But I love when other people do that so I can vicariously live through you.
I'm usually a planner, but this time I wasn't, and I think it was the first time that it happened that I was like, this was a really, really good decision because we just weren't happy where we lived before. It was not the vibe that we wanted. But as soon as we came out here, we were like, this is the vibe that we want. Um,
I love that.
yeah, it's been great. But um so for the Seattle Serpent series, it follows 6 guys on the team who have all sworn to stay single together because everybody else on the team is all married and they're the only single guys. And
We love how that happens and then it never actually happens.
yeah. So they've sworn to stay single and they are in a club together. And as much as they don't want to say it's a club, it's totally a club.
The
Um,
club and the group chats that you get from this club, it's
I know.
incredible. I
It's the
live for the
best.
group chats.
I love them so much, but yeah, there's a couple of grumpy guys, a couple of sunshiny guys, and their personalities mesh and clash all at the same time. They're really fun. The first book is Body Check, and it is a forbidden romance book where the heroine is the billionaire and the hero.
We love
We love that. The hero is just some hockey player. He just
just some guy. He's just Ken,
I
okay?
just kidding. Oh, that's absolutely perfect. I love that. I just watched the Barbie movie for the first time last Saturday and then
Really?
watched it again on Friday. I was like, this is fantastic. I have to see
It's
this.
literally so good.
Oh,
I went like, the weekend it came out, and I made my fiancé go, and he was the whole time, he was like, "It's gonna go to this movie," and then we walked out, and he was like, "That was a really good movie."
yes, it was so
Look at you,
good.
Ken. Good job.
Oh, I love that. That was really good. I liked that. Yeah, the second book is what just came out. It's Face Off. It just came out on Thursday. Is a golden retriever meets black cat heroine. She wants nothing to do with him, and he wants everything to do with her, and he's not going to give up, basically. And I love
He
them so
falls
much.
first, greatness. We
Oh
love
yes,
it when they fall first,
he
and,
falls
so
first and very, very hard, and
boy obsessed.
yes, very much so. I absolutely adore them, and there's no third act breakup, which was really great.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I loved it too. This is only the second time I've done that, and it's really fun. It's just a nice little break from, writing the breakup and everything. I I love these two. They are total opposites attract. They they just again they clash but mesh. They're just a fantastic. He was a total playboy and she was like, I don't like you at all. You're not my vibe. And he's like, but you're my vibe. Like, let's go.
I feel like too with, like with this book not having the third act breakup, it makes sense because when you have a slight slow burn,
Yes.
it's like if you have to wait for it and then you get it and then you immediately break up, it's like, but I waited so long.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I knew right away that they were not gonna have a third act breakup. I love those two. I've been plotting that book for a hot minute now. So it's my favorite book of mine I've ever written. It's my favorite cover of mine, my favorite couple of mine. I am totally in love with them and obsessed with them. Like, I am on the Lawson and Rory train, like, fully.
We love Lawson and Rory, and you literally just answered, like, some of my questions that I was gonna have. I love to ask authors, like, "Do you have a favorite, like, couple or characters, and do you have a favorite book?" And you just nailed it right there for me, like, "This one, go read right now,
Yes.
it's my favorite."
I love it so much. I didn't expect to fall as in love with it as I did, but even now, it's been months since I finished the book, and I can't stop thinking about them, which is a little ridiculous, but I still love it.
Do you feel like because they ended up being one of your favorites that the book just flowed out of you easier too?
Mhm.
Like, I know a lot of times when I talk to authors, they're like, sometimes their favorite book is the one that was just like, that was the easiest to write. Like, I literally didn't think about it. Their story just came through me.
Yeah, it I was shocked at how many words a day I was writing and how even though I was, like, sore and tired, my wrists were hurting, my elbows were, like, swollen, but I didn't wanna stop. I was just so
Mhm.
excited to get to the next scene or see what, like, their next interaction was gonna be. I didn't wanna stop at all, and it definitely just flew out of me.
That's incredible. So with the book coming out Thursday, it hasn't even been a full week. Do you feel like so far the response that the book's been getting? I've even seen even like on my own TikTok, like I've seen a ton of people already like talking about it and stuff. And I was like, I'm here for this. But do you feel like the response has been what you wanted and has been, again, it's like your favorite book, you just said. It's been worthy, like, oh my gosh, this is like exactly what they needed. Like they love the couple, they love this book just like me. Has it been fun for you?
It has been so much fun. I've had so many tags and so many people like, "This couple of yours used to be my favorite, but oh my gosh, I think this couple is now my favorite," which has been really, really great because I feel like as an author, you're always trying to, like, one up yourself almost, and when
Yeah.
you have, like, a particular couple who majority of people as their favorite, which I love, I think that's fantastic. So when
Mhm.
you write a new couple and all of a sudden they've fallen in love with them, it feels really cool. You're like patting yourself on the back a little bit. You're like, "Yes, I did it. I finally did it." And it feels really good. I've been loving the response. I'm so excited. I was worried, I was nervous. I'm always nervous for releases, but this one felt just a little more special just because I do love the couple and the book so
Mhm.
much. But the response has been great. I'm so thrilled everybody's loving them.
I love it. I love it so much. And again, I think, especially for me, the fact that there was no third act breakup. I was going through it, and you can feel those coming on a lot of the time,
Mhm.
and not in necessarily a bad way. Like sometimes, if they're done really right, I'm all for it. But sometimes you can get through a book, and you're just like you can just smell it, like it's coming, and you're like, I don't even like why is this one happening? And I was just like all happy because I was like, I don't think this is happening. Like the best thing ever, going through a book and then you don't have to have that like, oh, come on, especially
Yeah.
I don't know your opinion on this, and I'm gonna ask you in a second, kind of what your favorite trope to write is, but like the miscommunication, third act breakup is one of my like biggest pet peeves. It's like
Yeah.
if you would have just talked to each other.
Yeah, I think a lot of people share that opinion with you.
When it makes sense, and I'm like, okay, I can get behind this. Like, I still think it's silly sometimes, but I understand your thing. But once it's like, if like it's like someone was on the phone, it's like they overhear some like a part of a conversation and they like get mad and leave. I'm like,
Yeah, I feel like if it's done right, it's really good, but, sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's really a matter of just, like, how you would react in the situation, and you're just like,
mhm.
"This is dumb, this is how I would have reacted," so immediately you're like, "I absolutely hate this," but, um I don't mind miscommunication, like, if it's done right.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those that has to be just perfect for me to be like, "Yes, okay, I can get behind this." Um, so yeah, I love that there was no third act breakup though as well. I agree. You can really like when they're coming, and it's just like, oh man.
For, writing, this will be a two-part question. So first, what is your favorite trope to write? Do you feel like you have one that's just like, either Grumpy Sunshine or, Forbidden, or I love me Forbidden. So first book, Love that too. But do you feel like you have one that just, like, sticks out a little bit more to others that is, your absolute favorite to write, or do you like a few?
I really like the grumpy hero, and I like the grumpy hero, like, not always with sunshine, but just with
Mhm.
somebody who's, like, not afraid to call him out and be like, "You're being a jerk." I really
Yeah.
like that, and I mean, I like Grumpy Sunshine too. I also like to really take tropes and flip them, and, like, writing a black cat heroine,
Mhm.
or writing the female as the billionaire. I like to do stuff like that. I think those are probably some of my favorites just because I like to tackle it from a different angle. So it's not really one specific trope that I love over the others to write. I like
You
finding
like
new ways to write them.
you like to spin it to where it's like, it's what you know and love, but I put a twist on it so
Yeah.
you love it even
Yes,
more.
that's what I like to do.
I love that. I love that so much. And you said this one, I think you said is like only your second or third time not having a third
Yeah.
actor breakup. So as an author, do you feel like, knowing that a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of them sometimes, do you feel like that adds pressure to your
Oh,
writing?
yeah.
Or at this point, you know your character so well in the story that you're like, I can do this well. Like it's organically, it's their story. Like they need this, for their story to come full circle. What is, that view like for you?
I think it's definitely both. Like, you feel the pressure, but you also like, when you know your characters, you know what they have to go through, even if you know that the readers aren't gonna like it. I've definitely seen that in, like, reviews and stuff. They're like, "I didn't like this," and I'm sitting here reading it, I'm like, "I understand that you didn't like that. However, it was necessary for the character's growth." I have that, you kinda have that moment of, like, "Okay, like, I get it," and everybody's feelings are totally valid, like 100%,
Mhm.
but, um, I do think that with, being a writer, you do feel your characters a little differently than the readers feel them, just because you know them so intimately, essentially. Um, but yeah, I do feel pressure, but I also know my characters well enough to fight through that pressure and be like, "No, this is what needs to happen," and kinda, like, stick to my guns a little bit with it.
Yeah, especially, like you said, you know them so much better as readers than we know them. And, we like to say that we know them, but sometimes, like the beginning of a series,
Yeah,
we maybe have 200 pages with this person and we're like, why are they acting like this? And you're like, this person has lived in my head for 7 months or however long, like,
yeah.
this is why they're acting like this. I know that this is what they would do.
Yeah,
Like,
and especially with, like, a series, 'cause the side characters, the author has
mhm.
probably spent, like, 4 or 5 books with a certain character, and then when you finally get to their book, like, I feel like it's a surprise for readers who are like, "I wasn't expecting these characters to be like this," and I'm like, "I've known it all along, I don't know what's going on."
Yeah. I feel like I just experienced that with, like, a different series. It's like I finished it and I loved the book, and then I was going back and looking at people's reviews, and they were like, "I wasn't expecting this for this character, so I didn't like it." And I was like, "I thought it was great."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I thought she was literally lining it up, like, the whole time, like, this is how this is gonna go. I don't know where we jumped off ship or else, but I was there. I thought that's where we were moving.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So, kind of as we wrap up this went by really fast. This was also so fun. I feel like I learned about writing and you in general. For people who maybe haven't read any of your books, where can they find you? Connect with you as an author best, and then connect with your books. Where they most easily available that people can just start jumping in if they want to.
So, my books are available on Amazon, and they're all enrolled in Kindle Unlimited, which is fantastic. I'm a KU girly, I love it so much. I think if you're new, you should definitely start with Body Check. It's really fun, it's forbidden. There's light angst, but it's still really light, and fluffy and spicy. There's spice in the first, like, 15%, so if you're into that, you get into that.
We love that.
We
We are here
love
for
that.
that. I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like I speak for a lot of people. I don't think we like sometimes waiting till like the 80. I feel like I've recently, especially with like, getting to a book and it's like 70. I'm like checking my Kindle, it's like 70%. I'm like, where is it?
Sometimes as authors as well, when we're writing, we're like, come on already, like, let's go.
Get it
Um,
together.
yeah, for real. Uh, and if you want to dive into a really long series, the Carolina Comet Series, which is also hockey, sports romance, there's so many different tropes. There's online romance, mistaken identity, Vegas wedding, a surprise pregnancy. There's a single mom. There's so many good tropes in that. It's very all across the board. Both of the series are kind of like intertwined a little bit. So I feel like you can read each book as a standalone, but it is really fun. There's like a whole found family thing across both series. And I hang out a lot on Instagram and my Facebook reader group, Teagan's Tidbits. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at, what I'm doing. If you want to come chat with me on the Instagram, I try to respond to DMs a lot, but sometimes I'm bad at it, especially if they go on my other folder. But I'll usually seek you out maybe like a week or two later. But
And obviously, we just had a book come out, but I, as a reader, cannot not ask, is there anything you can tease coming up for us to get excited for that you can be like, here's a little dangle?
I am currently working on Delayed Penalty, which is the third Seattle Serpents book. Yes.
Woo!
That's going to come out in April. I am really excited for it. It is a single dadish book. I don't want to give anything away, but
Understand.
just be prepared to be surprised.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm ready at the same time. I'll get there before April.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on today. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that maybe you just want to say to readers or just anything in general that maybe I didn't cover?
I want to say thank you to everybody who has picked up Face Off so far. It's really hard to have a book in the top 100 on Amazon, and it currently is, and I'm really, really thankful and grateful for that. So thank you to everybody who has already picked up the book and who's loving Lucas and Rory, because they're the best and I love them. So thank you for all of that. I appreciate it.
And this is your sign, if you haven't, that you need to pick up Face Off or pick up Body Check first and then Face Walk. And you can just binge them both really fast. And then you can also be waiting for April for the rest of us.
Yes, exactly.
And if you need something before then, you can go back and read the Carolina Comet Series.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Teagan, for jumping on today. I had so much fun talking with you. And you guys make sure that you're saying subscribe to everything happening here at Michaela's Book Nook here, either if we're on YouTube or if you're listening on our Spotify podcast. And until next time, thanks, everybody.